2, 1. What's up, everyone? Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. We are going to be talking about Logan Paul. And before we do, there's been a lot of sensationalist, clickbaity type YouTubing that's been going on, and even the mainstream media and journalism has been, their whole business model is funded by advertising and clickbaiting and all of this kind of stuff that is about the attention economy, and it's not actually about the dissemination of quality information. So, from now on, I challenge us all to be focused on the dissemination of quality information first and foremost. So, now to the title of this video about giving Logan Paul a second chance. First of all, let's all take a quick moment to just chill and relax a little bit. Take a breath and just remember our humanity. Because everybody deserves a second chance. Nobody's perfect. Everyone messes up. The least we can do is extend an arm out and say, how can we help rehabilitate what's going on? How can we help make it better? Because when we kick people and we torture them psychologically and emotionally, it's really bad and it makes things worse. So let's reach out and give people a second chance. Now, who do I think Logan is at his core? I've been keeping an eye on Logan for about the last year or so, and I actually think Logan is mostly a Maverick. I think he's mostly an eccentric person. He's a very unusual person. He behaves in very free-thinking, sort of unusual ways. And what does that mean? It means that when you see people, sitting here in this chair going, like how I'm talking to you, Logan might, do something like, he might jitter about or like do something crazy for a second. And, it's totally okay to throw people off like that. It's actually very okay and very needed in our world. The fact that somebody can live a life where they challenge the obedience and the complacency of the mainstream culture is actually very good for humans. Now, pending, it has to be in non-egregious ways. We can't be outstandingly, outshockingly, horrifically going against mainstream culture, because there's a reason why we do things like we don't bring video cameras and laugh at people that have committed suicide. And I do truly think that there has been some lesson learned, and I think that there is a second chance that's being given out right now, and I think it's important to extend that second chance and also to foster a culture where it's totally okay to be eccentric, be unusual, and have behaviors that are completely different than the mainstream culture. Like right now, right? You didn't expect me to do that, but I did it. And it's, again, I'm just breaking the mainstream flow of things. So do things that are unusual, doing things that are eccentric. I think that that is more of who Logan is and what he's about. All right, so if you guys noticed, another thing that happened is that this is something very recent. This was actually just a couple days ago. Logan went and got an interview done by Casey Neistat. Casey, I've also been following for about a year. Very, very well done on a lot of his videography work and what he talks about and stuff. So imagine this. Logan chooses to not do an interview with a mainstream media outlet. This is a brand new thing that's come about society. People are choosing, content creators are not only going into boxing matches against each other, but they're choosing to do interviews with each other rather than with CNN or Fox or MSNBC or even a magazine like the New Yorker, New York Times, Washington Post, whatever. It's because there's not as much trust. We've lost our trust with a lot of the mainstream media outlets, and now we see more and more people going to this raw. If you noticed, Casey's video was raw, which means there were no cuts. This was completely raw and uncensored, unfiltered, unedited, just like the stream is right now. This is a direct stream of consciousness. You're getting at how it is, and there's no cuts, butts, coconuts, nothing. This is completely straight, raw, unedited, raw, and uncut. And I think a lot of our culture is moving this way. We see Joe Rogan doing multi-hour conversations on his show nowadays, and they're raw, they're uncut completely. So now consider this. If we're moving away from mainstream media to things like YouTube to see an interview be done live, and I think we also saw this with Kanye West and Charlamagne as well. We saw that Kanye went and did an interview that was completely away from mainstream media, private, only launched onto YouTube. Again, super private launch and a super private venue and super private conversation that happened about very sensitive subjects that could not be, now that might have had some cuts and whatnot, but again, it could not be manipulated in a way that was out of their control. Okay, so that's another important point here. Now, where are things going in the future? I think that what's going on with the boxing match against KSI, I think this is a very new thing that's going on. It's about creating a lot of hype between tribes. And I think that that actually has an interesting negative part to it. If you guys watched the press conference with KSI and Logan Paul, this last one that happened, they were in London and KSI's tribe was yelling like, fuck the Pauls, fuck Logan Paul, and fuck Jake Paul and stuff like that. And I don't actually think that pinning tribes against each other in this sense and then going through this boxing match and like seeing what happens from there. The boxing match itself is, fine, but the way that things are, I guess, are going are a little bit more tribal and a little violent at times. There's it just seems like a lot of negative energy that's coming from that with, the way that like Logan's dad was treated and stuff like that. And anyway, just to be completely clear here, this is also just not the best use, in my opinion, of their time, money, fame, resources. I think that if they devoted these things, KSI and Logan and Jake and all these people, if large-scale content creators would work on more humanitarian efforts with their time, maybe who knows, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they take the multi-$100 million earnings that they'll make off of this fight, and it only requires a couple million people from around the world, 10 million people or so, to make it a $100 million fight. That imagine now taking that money and then investing it into humanitarian causes. So it's very possible, who knows, that they take the money from this fight and they go and invest it into really good things of humanity. So that's ideally what I would see potentially happen from this, and that's just a little bit of thoughts from me to you. I hope that we have more eccentric things that occur in the world. I'm not sure if we're gonna have more content creators going to boxing matches or whatever is gonna happen in that sense, but I challenge us to have more of an overview perspective. Imagine yourself on the moon, looking at Earth from the moon, and you see the pale blue dot, and that is the perspective that we carry forward, that it's not an us versus them, that we learn how to work together. Let's figure that out as soon as possible. And let's do our best to continue propagating a culture of being eccentric and unusual in ways that are non-egregious. So let's figure that out, because it's really important to walk the offbeat path, to be the black sheep, and to figure out how to play around with the social fabric and society in ways that are fun and engaging and different, but that, again, don't cause massive, drastic harm onto people's lives as well. So much love. Thank you very much for tuning in to some of these thoughts on Logan Paul, as well as just the idea of rehabilitation and giving second chances is always very important. I've been given second chances, I'm sure you have too. So let's extend a hand out and help. Much love, everyone. Thank you very much.